Opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. Joining you guys after week 10 in the NFL. Well, minus 2 games. We are, as we always are, on Sunday night. So we're right in the middle of this Sunday night football game between the Niners and the Chargers. But we are here to tell you what matters most from all the games, all the action that we saw on Sunday. And I don't just say Sunday afternoon because we had a game in Munich that we're going to get to, that we are going to discuss, an international football bout, if you will. But Connor, the Jets were off this week. Were you just on a beach kicking your feet up, sunglasses on, pina colada in hand? What were you doing today, my man?
That would have been the smart play, but me, not an intelligent human, did not do that at all. I was at Yankee Stadium on Saturday for the Cortica rivalry game here in New York with Ithaca and Cortland, a little D3 football.
Oh, nice.
Because my girlfriend's an Ithaca alum. I have a ton of friends that are alums of really more Cortland. So did that. Gonna be honest with you, Trev, drank the most beer in one day that I have in an extremely long time. And I woke up Sunday feeling amazing, ready to go.
Whoa.
Football, cup of coffee, football on. I mean, what's better than this? I had no hangover. Life's good, man.
Hold on,
I mean,
you just had a birthday. You're supposed hangovers are supposed to get worse when you get older.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't do anything really crazy for my birthday, so I guess I made up for it here. And I am I don't get hungover. Like, I get painfully, really badly hungover. Like, I really know my limit these days. But yeah, I guess it was a little late gift here, and it was interesting to wake up and watch football in my house. Like, I have not done that this year at all.
Right.
So it was fun, man. But I want to ask you,
yes,
did you enjoy, and probably more as a one-off rather than it being consistent, did you enjoy having the Bucs on? Basically, the coverage was probably as soon as you woke up. There was pregame coverage going on. Did you like it, or was it kind of gimmicky to you?
I like it. I mean, I really did. Like, honestly, it was, anybody who's ever their favorite team has ever played one of the London or just overseas games before, they all start at 9:30. And for the Bucs, it was almost like I kind of got it out of the way, but it's also a cool way to start the day. Like, got up, made breakfast, took the dog out for a walk, and then it's just like, boom, 9:30 right there. Like the team that I know a lot about and probably care about the most is on. And it's fun when the team that you follow the closest has a nationally televised game, whether it's Sunday Night Football, an overseas game, Thursday Night Football, or Monday Night Football, because all of your friends are talking about the same game.
Yeah,
like every week you're going to watch the Jets no matter what. And yeah, you have a lot of followers and friends that are going to watch the Jets, but not everybody in the world is watching the Jets unless they're a primetime game. So it is
Which
fun.
They never are.
It's fun. Hey, we're getting there. We have faith. But
Jags Jets Christmas week, folks. Thursday Night Football. Lock it in.
It's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy getting to watch the team with everybody else across the nation, and we all kind of get off our takes, and I get to see what people think about the Bucs, honestly, because I don't get to do that every week. So I like it, man. I really do. I like the early start.
I do too. I don't know if I liked it as much when the Jets play a London game, and that's probably more matchup based. But one time I think about it was, and I thought the presentation of the game in Germany was incredible. Like, the fans out there could not have been better. The way they brought it and turned up for that game, and it felt special. Obviously with the American anthem with the flag, and then the German anthem with their flag. And there was just a lot going on that made it really unique. The one I draw it back to was, I remember many years ago, the Jets ended up playing the Giants in overtime, but I was out in California. Mm-hmm. So you wake up, you can go out and have breakfast or a cup of coffee, and you watch your football. And then if you don't have anything to do the rest of the day for work or your team, like, I just went and played volleyball on the beach. Like, it was like, it's amazing. Like, it's 2:00 and like my team already played and won, and now I can just go do what I want. Like, obviously those days would be over, but it's a very unique experience. And I do think there is something to it that is very enjoyable.
You West Coast people, you're on to something. You're on to something here with waking up to football,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go all sports with them.
Right.
Like, they can watch most of their hockey or basketball at a decent hour. I mean, you and I are getting old and washed. It'd be nice to go to bed.
You know where this shows up the most? I'm going to be honest, and this just popped into my head. The college football playoff for New Year's Eve.
Dude, spot on.
It sucks because they put the college football playoff games. One of them comes on at 4, and then the other one comes on at 8:30.
Might even be like 6 or something. You're right, though. It's
you know what I'm saying? Like, one of those college football playoff games is getting done, and it feels like 11:30 at night, and then it's like, oh, I only have 30 minutes until the ball drops, and it's midnight, and basically like your New Year's Eve night is kind of, I don't want to say ruined, but if you were on the West Coast instead, that game is getting over at 8:30, 9 o'clock at the latest, and then you actually get to enjoy New Year's Eve. So I just thought of that as you
agree.
said that.
So let me ask you.
Yes. Can I hold on? Can you right before you ask me a question? I do want to say huge shout out to the German football fans who you brought it up, how crazy of an atmosphere that was. And you told me this weekend, actually, when you were looking at a lot of the data for the people who listen to this podcast, that we have a ton of people who listen to the NFL Stock Exchange from over in Germany, all different parts of Germany. And holy cow, if you are over there listening to this podcast, thank you so much. That's crazy to us. When Connor told me that, I was like, that's wild. It's so crazy that people halfway across the world would listen to our podcast talk about football, and not just the people who listen in Germany, but also the people who listen everywhere. That's why we want you guys to feel as much of a part of the show as you can be, and why we do those speak pipes and those voicemails and everything. But I just wanted to make sure that I said that before I forgot.
I'm glad you did. It doesn't go unnoticed. To put it in perspective, I don't know why, but we greatly appreciate it. We are much more popular in Germany by like ranking than many places. We last week were the 26th ranked football podcast in Germany, where obviously, you know, if you go into American charts or even Great Britain and stuff like that, we're not as popular during draft season. I know that if you build it, they will come. But I don't know what at Germany, we are just so much more popular there. And that, I think that's awesome. I think it's really cool because I know they have a significant fan base for American football. And I'm just very thankful that we get to be a small part of your coverage. So thank you. And with that, we'll easily transition to the game that your country just hosted. Trevor, I have to ask you, massive win for the Bucks. No way around it.
Massive.
Against a very good Seattle team.
Yes.
And a game where a lot of things went right for this wasn't a game that the Bucks like stole or anything. I never felt that way. The Bucks were in control of a lot of this game. Not only what matters most to you, but just give me the lowdown of what could be. You know, you don't want to ever overuse this is the turning point of the season, but if the Bucks are going to use something as a launch pad, this international game, Tom Brady 4-0 in international games now, could be that. So I really wanted to hear from you on this one to kick off the show.
Yeah. So, like, first of all, I mean, I didn't think Seattle played their best game, and I don't know. I don't know why that was the case. I know it's really difficult when you play these games overseas, especially for a team that is on the West Coast, right? Your body is already adjusting to a lot of different time zones as Seattle is kind of changing and going through different weeks of the season, and making a massive change like that, man. It doesn't matter how many days early it does matter, but you know what I'm saying? It's hard to adjust to that time zone no matter what, whether you get there on a Tuesday or a Thursday or whenever it is. Like, it's just going to be hard to acclimate yourself to that kind of lifestyle, that kind of a sleep schedule, for your body to adequately be focused, awake, attentive, get the sleep recovery that you need. And I have no idea how much of that went into Seattle, but the first half, really the first like 3 quarters of that game, Seattle just was not themselves. You saw towards the end of the game, they were able to charge back, and Geno had some monster throws, and they were finally getting the passing game working and clicking with Lockett and Metcalf. The running game never got working for them. But again, I wonder if that's the travel part of it, because Seattle has played so well and so consistent so many times this season. And everybody has games where, okay, it's not the best that they play. But I will say it was a big win for the Bucks, but they did not get the best of the Seattle Seahawks. If this game was played in Seattle, Tampa loses this game. I'm pretty convinced, because Seattle comes out a lot hotter. They come out a lot more focused. And beyond just the neutral site or even away thing, the fact that they were so far away in another country halfway across the world, I do wonder if that went into it. Now, when you look at the Bucks, I think if people looked at their situation as a team last week, and they're like, oh, maybe that last second win was a big catalyst for like kind of the word that you used, launching point for them to become this team that we thought that they were going to be. Here's the thing, folks. If the Bucs are going to become that team that you think they're going to be, that we all thought they could have been in the preseason, it's not going to happen anytime soon. It might happen in December after they stack good performances up on top of each other. Though the defense is clearly playing better for Tampa, and I mean, you could just see that in the numbers that they limited with Kenneth Walker, 10 carries, 17 yards, 1.7 yards per carry. I mean, they bottled that dude up. I mean, the receiving game, again, Geno Smith, it felt like they were not clicking basically until the third and fourth quarters of this game. That is a shout out to the Bucs defense and how well that they have played over the last 2 weeks. But when you look at things on offense, yeah, Rachaad White was a big takeaway from this game. And if we're going to have a what matters most, it's the fact that Tampa's run game might be able to be saved this year if they continually go to Rachaad White. He is their best running back on the team. Leonard Fournette does not give them the same amount of juice. He does not give them the same amount of effort. He does not give them the same amount of production. That's just plain and simple. So what matters most on Tampa's side of things is if they are going to continue to have this desire to run the ball as much as they want to, it's important that they now have a running back who at least gives them some productive carries, some productive touches, because before they just were not getting that with Fournette. So Tom Brady was once again great. I think Chris Godwin's coming back to himself a lot more and more each week. Mike Evans was still steady, but he didn't have a major breakout game. Cade Otton is becoming a big time wide receiver, or tight end, I should say, weapon for them in the receiving game. But really what matters most is if Tampa is going to be this team that ends up winning the NFC South that we're talking about in the playoffs, and the offense is looking a little bit better. A key from this game that's going to be a takeaway is the fact that the rookie from Arizona State, Rachaad White, has emerged and become the guy who's going to get RB1 carries for them. It's
a great point. It's something that it feels like maybe it's almost been 22 carries for White in this game. I mean, it took a long time for him to not only get on the field, but get legitimate usage where you're wondering where this would flip. And we know Fournette's a guy that kind of deals with little things week in and week out, and sometimes they can catch up to you. And honestly,
do you see he almost didn't have his passport? He almost didn't make it to the game.
It was by 2 or 3 hours, right?
4 hours before they got on the bus to go to the airport is when he got his passport.
Okay, how does that happen? I'm not saying, I know people screw these things up, right? And a lot of people, honestly, I don't want to assume everybody out there understands international travel, right? Like that's not an assumption. Even if Leonard Fournette didn't know that, how does the Bucs organization, when you a little peel back of the curtain, when these organizations have these trips, it's a really big deal for the organization, the administration, because I've talked, and I know a lot of this is public already, but I've talked to teams out there that travel with their own toilet paper, that the amount of time put into these trips for months, for 6 months preparing for them. How did that sneak through? That Leonard Fournette doesn't have an updated passport?
I don't know. And they probably had to pay a lot of money to expedite that bad boy within 48 hours or whatever it ended up being.
I mean, they're a good thing they're the former Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Right.
If that was you or me, Trevor, our ass would be sitting in America watching that shit on TV we were.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah,
I just thought that was funny.
That was very funny, very crazy, and ultimately
glad that he actually made it though. What did you think of this game as you were watching?
He made it. He got to throw an interception on the most ridiculous play call I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, this is the dumbest.
Carving Seattle's defense up. Carving.
They did so many good things that game. It felt like
that drive
specifically, Brady was carving them up. Okay. And the worst part about it is, and I tweeted about this, the worst part about it is, Connor, why do you run a trick play? Okay. You run a trick play because you are giving the defense a look that they've never seen before. And in hopes of doing that, you hope that when you break the huddle and that when you're lined up, the defense goes, wait a second, that guy's there, this guy's here, this look doesn't look right. And then all of a sudden they're scrambling because they're trying to communicate between the time that you break the huddle and the snap of the football. That's what you want to accomplish with trick plays. They ran that trick play. And then 5 plays later, they try to do it again and throw to the most disadvantageous spot of the field with Lenny throwing a pass to Tom Brady with Tariq Woolen next to him.
Dude, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, they obviously thought since they didn't cover Brady the first time, they're like, oh, they're just never going to cover Brady.
But why would you think that?
But why? That's like a bold assumption. It's a really, and not to mention, I mean, Brady, we've seen before, is not like a lot of these young athletic quarterbacks that's going to be a threat as a receiver at all.
Of course.
Like Brady's only chance at catching the ball if it's like fielding a punt pass where no one's in the vicinity and he has time to just sit there and wait.
Right.
We almost had contested catch, or I don't think anything would have had. Tariq Woolen would have won that too if Brady didn't fall. It was just a ridiculous situation. What matters most for me from this game is very simple, but you have to answer the question: is that the Bucs won. The Bucs are now in a bit of a driver's seat if they can take it and run with it to win this awful division. This division stinks so badly that
come on.
You know what? Good for the Bucs that they could get off to that kind of start, and I think honestly be okay in terms of winning their division. Playoffs, they're going to have to play a different brand of football, but they're figuring some things out right now. That's what you never underestimate Tom Brady. My honorable mention from this game, because I know everybody loves him, but it deserves even more praise. Tristan Wirfs is one of the best tackles in the NFL. When you just watch him,
no question.
When you watch him in games like this, it's truly unbelievable how fast he was this good. I know he was like this as a rookie, but now you watch him with a little more seasoning, and the man is just one of the most polished players in the NFL. So shout out to Tristan Wirfs, a true anchor on that team that has a lot of veteran players, and I'm talking like 6 to 8 year veterans. Wirfs is that guy where you look at and go, he's going to be here for a different era of Bucs football. That's how good he is.
Tampa currently, after that game, has an 82% chance to win the division title. They have the 28th easiest schedule remaining, so it is definitely still there for them. This is a massive win. There is no doubt about it. You want to talk about what might go down as game of the year? Minnesota versus
Holy
Buffalo.
crap.
I feel like that's got to be the next game that we talk about.
Let's do it.
Minnesota
awesome.
Vikings 33, Buffalo Bills 30. This one was in Buffalo. It was a final in overtime. So many different things to talk about this game, whether it was some of Josh Allen's big turnovers or Josh Allen's big runs, Josh Allen's big throws. You had Dalvin Cook going for over 100 yards, a massive 81-yard touchdown. Justin Jefferson, just one of the biggest takeover games you'll ever see from a wide receiver. Kirk Cousins, over 350 yards passing. Stephon Diggs, 16 targets, 12 receptions, $128. And what we thought was going to be the catch of the year until later in the game when Justin Jefferson won up them. Dude, it was just this back and forth Titanic battle. And I think everybody went into this game, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, but I feel like everybody went into this game thinking, all right, are the Vikings actually legit? And I think we walk away with this game thinking they are legit. But what is your one thing that matters most?
They are, and they are definitely funky in a way of Kirk Cousins still is Kirk Cousins. Like, he's not bad and he's not good, but you know his flaws and where they're limited. But Justin Jefferson is so good that sometimes it does not matter. I came away from this game more on the Bills side, right? Okay. Like, the Vikings are good, and I've thought that. And we shout out Kevin O'Connell on this show a lot for what matters most. I think the Vikings are well balanced. They can run the ball with Cook and Madison. They have the best receiver in football that takes over games. He takes over games, Justin Jefferson. He single-handedly will make plays that no one else really can make. And Cousins is doing enough, especially when kept clean. And Hawkinson's a really nice addition. And they have edge rushers. Like, they have all these things. That's all great. And they're going to have a really nice season ahead of them. The Bills, to me, while watching this game, the thing that kept coming back to mind is Josh Allen has really thrown away the last 2 games. The Bills have lost their last 2 games. They lost to the Jets and they lost to Minnesota. Josh Allen has had egregious turnovers. And I don't say that Josh Allen's like he's bad or he's cooked or anything, nothing like that. It's just concerning to me that the brand of football Josh Allen is playing right now, can he do this for the next 10 years? Where the turnovers, he's a big play threat, so they balance out and you live with them. Trevor, he takes on contact I love his style of play. And as a fan of the game, I love it. And I'm a Jets guy, and I love watching Josh Allen play. He doesn't slide. He's playing hurt. He's getting himself.
He doesn't slide.
He does not slide. And you know what? Sometimes you don't have to slide. He never slides.
Yeah.
I just look at this and I go, man, like, does somebody need to protect Josh Allen from himself? Because they need Josh Allen to be the face of Buffalo sports for the next decade. And he should be, because he's incredible. But man, the beating his body takes might not seem like a big deal last year, might not seem like a big deal this year. Is it going to be a big deal by 2025, 2026? I don't know. But we saw that with Cam Newton over time, where it was really scary, and what happened with him. And obviously the turnovers are a minor thing here that I think they won't continue to happen, but they've lost them 2 games.
Right.
That's my take. What matters most to me is the Bills need to find a way, maybe not this year, but in the near future, to protect Josh Allen in some kind of manner.
My one thing that matters most is more towards the Vikings side of things, but just to add to what you said there, Josh Allen leads the NFL in turnover-worthy plays this year, and he leads that category by 4. He's got 19 turnover-worthy plays, and the next closest is Jared Goff with 15. That's pretty significant. That's pretty damn significant,
right?
Yeah.
They had their bye week.
Bills had their double check that, but yeah. I think they did have their bye week.
Just to show, like, that means he's had a lot of turnover-worthy plays if you count that.
Do they have their bye week?
The Bills had their bye week the week before Halloween.
So they have had their bye week, and Josh Allen is still by far the most in turnover-worthy plays. That is bad. And you said, like, the last 2 weeks, Josh Allen has. Now, I don't want to use the word regression, because regression means that, like, he's no longer the quarterback that we thought. And I don't really mean that. But his play has regressed over these last 2 games, where you look at last week and you go, okay, well, that was a little dangerous, but, he'll figure it out. This one, again, they were in a situation where he throws 2 turnovers, and they're costly, man. The first turnover, he was just trying to give his guy a chance. I believe it was a 4th down right close to the red zone. So he was throwing it up there anyways. He had to try to make something happen. It was interception. I get that one. One at the end of the game, I don't know what the hell he was looking at. I don't know if it was an option route with a receiver, because I know that there is a lot of built-in chemistry with the receiver, so they kind of trust each other in that regard. When there's miscommunication and that's the case, it can look really, really ugly. But that pick was ugly. That was a really ugly pick. It felt like something that he did not have to do. And that's ultimately, when I've watched Josh Allen over the last couple of weeks, it feels like he's making mistakes that he does not have to make.
Yep, I agree.
He's got a bit of a superhero complex right now, where he kind of thinks he's invincible. And I don't think that he's doing that in an arrogant way.
No.
I think he's doing it in a way where he just has that much confidence in himself and in his team. And we saw last year what that looks like when it looks good. We even saw that earlier this year, what it looks like when that looks good and you hit on those things. You make people think this is the Super Bowl champion, but when it doesn't look great, when you eventually throw those turnovers, all of a sudden there are a lot of questions that definitely come your way. So I'm with you. It's just something to monitor right now, right? Because Miami now leads that division, not the Bills. Bills are currently, I think, sitting in the 6th playoff spot because of the tie for records that they have with the rest of teams. So for as much as I don't think anybody's giving up on the Buffalo Bills at all as a potential Super Bowl champion, road gets a lot tougher when you're the 6th seed, right? Road gets a lot tougher. It means that you're on the road every single game. So
they also lost to the Jets and the Dolphins. So they're 6 and right. So now you have to go beat the Jets and the Dolphins.
Right.
In those other division games. You're right. The Bills are a great team. And the one thing I don't want to hear about, this is the only thing bothering me right now, and it's not everybody. I see so much talk lately of injuries with the Bills. Every single team has massive back-breaking injuries. Back-breaking. I get it. You lost Hyde and Poyer's been banged up, and Milano missed the Jet game.
Obviously, Trey White hasn't played for them.
Sure. You drafted a corner in the 1st round. Like, I just don't want to hear that. I think the Bills are well coached and talented enough to overcome that. because a lot of other teams are right now. So they'll figure it out, and Allen will figure it out. But they need to protect him from himself a little bit. And obviously, the backbreaking turnovers they just can't happen at this kind of rate. Because, like you said, Trevor, I think the most notable thing is that you watch some of them and you're like, I can't wrap my head around this kind of turnover.
Yeah.
And the one thing I do want to say for the Vikings, because I noticed Justin Jefferson crossed 4,000 career receiving yards today, which is unbelievable. Mike Giardi had a really good tweet that he tied Lance Allworth and OBJ for the fewest games to reach 4,000 career receiving yards, 42 games for those three. Pretty unique company.
I thought you were just about to say Mike Giardi said earlier today, he is him. I thought that's what you were going to say.
That would have been much better. But I didn't want to make up a quote. And I need to double click this check mark.
Oh yeah, because we need to do that now. Look, my what matters most is the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings are legit. They're a tier 1 NFL team, I think. They are a team that can beat anybody any given week. Justin Jefferson's a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. If you have a top 3 wide receiver list and Justin Jefferson's not in it, it's wrong. I don't know what else to tell you. He's
the best receiver in the league.
He's uncovered. Well, when Tyreek Hill is on, his speed to me puts him in a category that nobody else can touch. That's fair. I would kind of lean towards Tyreek being I don't have a definitive one. There's so many good wide receivers in the NFL, but if I did have to have a one, it would probably be Tyreek, but then Justin Jefferson's 2. And at the very least, he is 3, because it just every single week he's uncoverable, man. You mentioned he's the quickest guy to get to 4,000 yards receiving in his few games as he's been able to do. It's just monster performances every single week. This is an absolute signature game for him, a takeover performance. And it just felt like down the stretch, Buffalo knew exactly where the ball was going. They knew exactly where the ball was going, and they couldn't do anything about it. Justin Jefferson continued to come up with it. There were so many plays where Jefferson was catching the ball at the sideline where he not only had to balance the 2 inches that he had to work with in bounds, but there were also 2 Buffalo Bills defensive backs right next to him. And yet he was still coming down with catches because he's Justin freaking Jefferson, and he's unbelievable. I do think Kirk Cousins is different this year. I think he's better this year. Do I think that he's Patrick Mahomes? No. But I think that he puts this team in a position to win every single week. I will say this too. The offensive line of Minnesota is a good offensive line. There's not a single player on this offensive line that graded less than 65 in pass blocking against a really damn good pass rush of the Buffalo Bills. One of the best pass rushes in the NFL. Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter, 1 sack apiece again each today. They are making their case for the best pass rushing edge duo in the NFL. Yes, the secondary in Minnesota is a little bit shaky, but they can get it done. It's an up and down unit anyways. All of that to say, I'm here for Minnesota, man. I'm here for what they're doing. Would I be betting them against the Chiefs? Okay, probably not. But it's just, they are right there. They are a team that gives themselves a chance, talent-wise, execution-wise, whatever it is, to beat any team, any week. And if I say that about you, you have to be a tier 1 team to me. That's what I think. Outside of a team being utterly dominant, which I haven't seen yet this season, even though the Chiefs are playing a little bit better. Minnesota's in tier 1 for me after this week. They have to be. Unbelievable road win. Going to Buffalo, such a tough place to play. It was snowing for at least the first part of that game. I can't even remember if it was snowing at the end because my jaw was on the floor and I was trying to pick it up with all the plays that we were watching. But I think Minnesota's for real, man. So I know we spent a ton of time on that game, but
no, how can you not?
It was a game. It was like the game of the year.
How can you not? It deserves every bit of the time spent on it. So, I mean, that's how the show goes. I mean, we really hammered down on 2 huge games to start the day, and we'll pick up the pace a little bit, but plenty of other good stuff to go around. I do want to go transition to Lions Bears, which was a freaking awesome game today. And maybe a little overshadowed because neither team is necessarily deep in a playoff race but if you like, whenever Trevor, you bring it up, like if you like the NFL draft, like this is kind of your game because young players on both sides of the ball, coaching staffs that are trying to get right, trying to keep these guys motivated. And they all looked really, really motivated and hungry to win this game. What mattered most to me in this game is that Aiden Hutchinson looked like a guy that was worthy of being a top 3 selection that can take over games for you. that can not take over, but close out games for you. I saw a side of Aiden Hutchinson in the second half of this game that I've been waiting for this year, and I thought he was phenomenal. And obviously the numbers back it up when you look at what he's done. He had 4 pressures in this game. He had a huge sack of Justin Fields in this game. He had a couple plays against the run, one at the goal line. I thought Hutchinson he had 4 solo stops in this game and a tackle for a loss. I thought he looked really, really good. And I thought most importantly, he had his big moments when they needed him the most. They said, we got to go out and win this game. We need you. So the Lions getting that kind of performance from Aiden Hutchinson is exactly what can turn around their defense and lead to closing out games, not losing by a field goal or a touchdown every week.
This was a fun game to watch some young players go off. You know, you talked about Aiden Hutchinson and you mentioned some of the stats that he had. They pointed this out on the broadcast. I think it was Mark Sanchez who was doing that game, who was doing the color commentary for that game, but he pointed this out and it was true. When
he's really good, by the way. I just want to say that.
I do think Mark Sanchez is good.
Yeah, he's really good. I enjoyed this game a lot.
Sometimes he pushes it a little bit with some of the jokes that he tells,
yes,
but
absolutely.
But that's the nature of, like, I feel like where a lot of the color guys are going with their analysis. So I don't blame him too much for it, but he is really good at pointing things out. And he pointed this out on Justin Fields' interception that he threw to Jeff Okudah, which looked like it was supposed to be a screen to Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
And the reason why Justin Fields panicked is because Aiden Hutchinson immediately recognized that something wasn't right when he was kind of getting upfield toward Justin Fields. And he was like, oh, this is a screen. So he immediately got in the throwing window of exactly where Justin was going to go to throw the ball quickly to Cole Kmet. And then Justin almost had to pump fake it. And he was like, oh, crap. Now I got to hold on to it a little bit more. Then he feels the pressure coming from the backside. He releases the ball. It goes to Jeff Okudah. It's a pick six. It was a monumental game-changing play.
Turning point.
Justin Fields was able to score after that on that unbelievable run that we saw. But still, that was huge because of Aiden Hutchinson. So I'll say this, too. I know Hutchinson's getting a lot of crap this season. And honestly, I felt like this year was going to be a struggle for Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I think Hutchinson's got to put on some weight. You know, like he's 6 foot?
He's 6'7".
He's 6'6" and 5'8". So essentially he is 6'7" with cleats on. Connor, he's 260 pounds.
Yeah.
Like I think over the next 2 seasons, we're going to see Aiden Hutchinson start to play a lot closer and more comfortable to like a 270, a 272, and he's going to be bigger. He's going to be stronger. He's going to be more explosive. Like he's not there right now. He's just kind of trying to figure it out at his current weight. But that was a big takeaway that I even had from watching Hard Knocks is, you know, he'd go out on the practice field and do the thing that everybody does where, you know, like you kind of like crop top your jersey and they like tuck the jersey into the pad. So like you just see their whole midsection. And I'm like, this dude's a wide receiver. Like this, he looks like a wide receiver. There's so much more mass that he can put on his frame. And obviously you don't want him just to throw on weight and then become slower. You don't want him to do that. But I think that you've seen players. That's why I said over 2 years, 2 off seasons upcoming, that we're going to see him put on really good weight, really good strength. And he's going to be a damn good edge rusher, I think. So I'm glad you shouted him out. I like that as well. Also wanted to shout out our guy Jack Sanborn, the linebacker from Wisconsin, who had 2 sacks in this game, led the Bears in tackles. Obviously no Roquan Smith anymore, so there's a lot of tackles to go around. Jack Sanborn ends up leading the team in tackles. Also had an interception that his interception got called back from a penalty, but the penalty didn't have anything to do with him picking the ball off. So I wanted to make sure that I shouted that out as well. Connor, what mattered most for me with these teams, and we talked about Justin. Honestly, the thing that matters most is that Justin Fields still looks phenomenal, and that's awesome to see. I'm glad that he's just playing with so much confidence. These teams,
go ahead. Sorry,
they don't have enough playmakers on offense.
I agree.
They just don't. They just don't have enough playmakers right now. I mean, when you look at the Lions, Goff had an okay day. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 11 targets, 10 receptions, 119 yards. The next closest target getter was Khalif Raymond with 3. You know, so there's so much of a talent discrepancy in the passing game that they just have to force feed Amon-Ra St. Brown. To me, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'd love for a legit wide receiver 1 to get in there. Now, they've got Jameson Williams. He's coming back. But even after that, man, go add another wide receiver in, I'm going to say anywhere from rounds 2 to 4. Doesn't have to be 2. Calm down, Lions fans. I know you got other needs, but just anywhere from that mark to where you go into next season, maybe with the Bryce Young, a CJ Stroud, but also an Amon-Ra St. Brown, a Jameson Williams, and let's get a big body in there. I'd love to see them get a big, like an X type of receiver. And then all of a sudden, man, you're talking about a decent offensive output for Detroit, like we already saw at the beginning of the season. So I think that's there. And then, of course, the same thing for the Chicago Bears. You look at Chicago. Cole Kmet led their team in targets with 7 on this game. He had 74 yards, a 50-yard touchdown, which was awesome. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. Darnell Mooney then had 4 targets as well, but they just don't really have anybody after that. Claypool had 2 targets for 1 catch and 8 yards. He's definitely got to step up a little bit more, but there just weren't enough offensive playmakers. And I'm excited to watch what these teams are going to do in the offseason to get a little bit better on the offensive side of the ball.
Me too, man. Me too. I think that, yeah, I mean, once again, like you said, Fields made some crazy plays with his legs in this one and a couple really nice throws. Obviously, the interception was tough and kind of changed this game. But this was a really, really fun game to watch with how much energy both sides brought, and good for the Lions as well to kind of get back on track here. You could see how much this meant to Dan Campbell after the win, as it always does. So an exciting game, but we will turn to No, let's keep it exciting. Let's keep it exciting here. I don't want to turn to like the snoozer fest.
You just say
here.
bad. You just say but we will turn to.
Yeah, that was a bad sell. Bad sell. So I'm not going to that game.
Okay,
I won't ever tell anybody what game I was talking about.
I'll never.
Browns Dolphins.
Ah, yes.
Browns Dolphins. A game that it felt closer to me than this. I don't know why.
Than 39-17.
Yeah. I mean, I watched almost all of this game as well. And I guess because the Dolphins really, started to run away in the third quarter. It came out of half 17-7. They scored 13 in the third quarter. I mean, Trevor, for me, what matters most is Tua is just throwing beautiful
He's
layered.
on fire, man.
Beautiful throws at all 3 levels with touch. And he truly, when you keep Tua upright or you create space for the targets, and which Mike McDaniel, great on him and how he's taking advantage of the weapons they have. But Tua is just the touchdown throw to Trent Sherfield was gorgeous. Yeah. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean,
that whole drive.
He had to throw
that
before.
Whole 2-minute drive was beautiful from Tua.
For me, with this situation with the Dolphins, it's that you got your quarterback. He is just such a beautiful touch thrower in a sense of where he could drop the ball or tight windows, timing, get the ball to playmakers in space so they can catch and run. So that was the big thing to me that I came away watching this game and go, the Dolphins offense can literally beat anybody. Anybody. I still have questions about this defense as much as it was good to see Bradley Chubb get involved. This was by the way, really weird family day. Did you notice this?
Mm-hmm.
Nick Chubb and Bradley Chubb cousins played each other.
Yep.
There was the
Dalvin Cook and James Cook played
James Cook played against each other.
And then
Amon-Ra and Equanimous played against each other. Yep. And I think there was one. It was like total family day in the NFL, which is so freaking cool. And by the way, for anyone that doesn't know, Quincy Williams and Quinn Williams kick ass together every Sunday the Jets play on the same front 7.
It's family Sunday every Sunday in New York, brother.
Exactly. So, all right, I've hogged enough of this one. Tua looked awesome. Tua, you could say it with your chest. Tua looks like a draft hit, man. Tua looks good. Mike McDaniel is perfect for Tua. And as long as they can keep him healthy, because we know he's had some serious injuries off of hits in the pocket.
Yep.
That offense can get into it with anyone. It's wild to watch. And we say that all the time, but I want to make sure Tua gets the credit as the catalyst that he is, because it did not look this way when they had to play backup quarterbacks out there.
Right. No, that's a good note. Look, when we say what matters most for teams every single week, sometimes it's not anything drastically different. A lot of what we're going to say about this game and what Connor said there, what I'm about to say on the Dolphins, it's very similar to kind of what we've been saying over the last couple of weeks. This team's rolling. It's all about their offense. It's the fact that they could score on anybody. And Connor, the thing that I would just want to emphasize this week, and I talked about it a little bit last week, but the speed that they have, basically at every level of the field, whether it's the backfield, whether it's quick pass in the middle, over, in the intermediate or deep down the field, this team's just faster than everybody. They've got offensive weapons that can blaze by you. I think we saw that in the run game in particular today with Jeff Wilson going over 100 yards. He had 119 yards, and then Raheem Mostert as well. He had 65 yards as well. Both of those guys had a touchdown. And if you watch those two rushing touchdowns, the element that stands out to you the most is that these guys just blow by defenders. They are all so fast. So it's one of those things where it feels like Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier drafted a Madden team, right? They just sorted speed and got a bunch of really fast wide receivers, a bunch of really fast running backs, and basically said, if we get open space at all whatsoever, you're gone. It's over. I'm padding the stats. And that's what it feels like the Dolphins are doing that in real life. The team speed of the Dolphins is unmatched right now. I don't know if any defense in the NFL can legitimately keep up with them. It's basically a matter of execution. Can Tua get the ball where it needs to go? And I think that's the question mark with the Dolphins the entire season. But to this point, the resounding answer, certainly since Tua has come back from his concussions, has been yes. He's been fantastic, and he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at getting it done in the offense that he is operating in. And when I say that, I don't mean that as a caveat either. The man is playing well. He is a catalyst and a reason why they are playing well as a team. Dolphins are on fire, man. Now on top of that division, they ain't playing for a wild card spot anymore. The Dolphins are playing for a chance to maybe even be the 1 seed when it's all said and done, which for as much as some people might have believed in the Dolphins going into this year, I don't think anybody was predicting that. And they've put them in the driver's seat to be able to do that. So that's a big feat for them. And that's what matters most.
I mean, there's just no way around it. It's you could say it, right? Like people struggle so much to give Tua credit. I don't, because I really liked Tua and thought I was really wrong when I loved that pick. And this year it has turned out the opposite way. And we'll see how it goes. Watching him and Herbert, the, juggling of who are you taking all the time has gotten a lot more interesting, as much as while we're recording this podcast, Herbert looks really, really good tonight. All right, let's transition to Denver, Tennessee. This game, literally, I've never seen a first quarter where nothing happened before. And not a single thing, I swear, nothing happened in the first quarter of this game. Like when it went to the second quarter, I was like, wow, that's impressive. There's really nothing going on. It got better, obviously. The flea flicker
hold on, now I got to look at what the stats were in the first quarter.
I got to sort it. I swear I felt like nothing happened.
Nobody scored any points.
I don't think anybody moved either way.
I don't passing stats. Let's see. We go to Broncos. We go to Titans. Let's see the passing stats here. Okay. Russell Wilson had 79 passing yards. Ryan Tannehill had 35. Incredible. Absolute output right there. Rushing stats. Derrick Henry had 16 yards. Melvin Gordon had 6. All right. Yeah. Not a lot going on. Not a whole lot going on in the first quarter.
Not a lot going on.
Hey, sometimes you got to warm the body up. Sometimes you just got to warm it up,
The flea flicker was sweet. And my takeaway from this game, and this isn't overly creative, because how many times could we say, like, just come on here and kind of knock Russ or, be harsh on Hackett, and the Broncos lose again. You might not like it. You might not enjoy it. But my God, Mike Vrabel just knows how to scratch and claw in the dirt to win football games. It is ugly, boring, unconventional, whatever you may think it, but the guy doesn't really blink. I mean, they were losing going into the half against a team that they were supposed to be much better than coming into this game. Tannehill's back. Malik Willis had been starting, but Tannehill's back for this game. Derrick Henry did not get much going in this at all. And whether it's the flea flicker call or just their understanding of when to be aggressive and when not to be, I don't think Tennessee's a great team by any stretch of the means, but they can win in such a like ugly, boring fashion that I genuinely think it's a skill of Vrabel. Like, Vrabel reminds me of Tomlin in a way that it'd be very hard to see Vrabel like going to a full rebuild, like this team stinks funk for a long time in Tennessee, like over a year kind of stretch. Like he's that kind of coach that it feels like they're not the most talented team. A lot of times they go on the field, but he just always has them ready to play. And this game kind of, to me, summarized that.
No, Vrabel's awesome.
He's
Vrabel's
such a good coach.
He's truly one of the best head coaches in the NFL. What matters most, I'm going to go to the other side of things. I'm going to talk about the Broncos.
Good luck, brother.
Russell Wilson was hit 17 times in this game, sacked 6 times. Now the offensive line was down to like second and even third stringers. So it just, I mean, the whole offense is beat up. So
Yeah,
it's not,
he holds the ball so
it's not
long.
great, but he's holding on to the ball. The Titans were getting a ton of pressure on him. That sucks. But I was doing research for this show. I guess I'll just tell you the numbers right now. The Denver Broncos had just over 300 total yards on offense. I think they had 313. Connor, that was on 73 offensive plays. They had 73 offensive plays, and they barely got over 300 total yards of offense. And 66 of them came on a blown coverage touchdown pass. If you even turn that into a 20-yard game, they're getting less than 300 yards on 73 plays. It's awful, man. That's just absolutely terrible. I thought the defense was very stout, as the Broncos have always been, other than the 2 blown plays they had with the flea flicker and then the other pass to, who was it? Westbrook-Akine, the wide receiver, who had a monster day just because of those plays. I don't really know what the Broncos are going to do. I don't think they're going to fire Nathaniel Hackett. And the reason why I ultimately don't think they're going to fire Nathaniel Hackett is because they went through and interviewed a lot of the head coaches that you might think, okay, we can fire him after 1 year. Let's go get somebody else. Unless they're hiring Sean Payton, I don't think you can really fire Nathaniel Hackett because you interviewed everybody last cycle. They interviewed Gerard Mayo, Dan Quinn, Kellen Moore, Hackett, obviously, Bieniemy, Jonathan Gannon from the Eagles, Kevin O'Connell, obviously, you can't hire him now. Aaron Glenn, you wouldn't want to hire him. Doug Peterson, you can't hire him. Luke Getsy, Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator for the Bengals. That's it. Like,
yeah, you're right.
You already interviewed those guys, and you chose Hackett over them. So you're not going to fire Hackett and then be like, hey, we're going to pick a guy that we interviewed last year that we didn't hire. So to me, I think a lot of people are looking at the Broncos and they're going, man, the offensive side of the ball is absolutely putrid. Nathaniel Hackett's supposed to be an offensive coordinator, like an offensive guy. I don't know how they would fire Nathaniel Hackett just to fire him and then go through another coaching search. The only way that you could fire him is if you're getting Sean Payton. Is Sean Payton going to the Denver Broncos?
I don't think so.
Highly doubt it. So, like, even DeMeco Ryans, I don't think that you're firing Nathaniel Hackett just to go hire DeMeco Ryans. I don't think they're going to do that. Maybe if they like Jim Harbaugh enough, they would do that. But again, I think that Jim Harbaugh was kind of available last year. They could have interviewed Jim Harbaugh, I think, and they didn't. So, a little weird, man. I think the Broncos are kind of stuck. And the thing that matters most for me is I know people are saying, hey, Hackett might be a one and done thing. This is another game where it was terrible. It looks apathetic with the fans. It's not really a great situation. I just don't see them firing Hackett at this point because all the other guys that they would replace him with who are out there, they already interviewed and they pick Hackett over. So can you really do that? I don't know. Anyways, we can move on.
They'd have to be bullied into it. My one last note for the Titans, just to the overall point of like they find a way. No Jeffrey Simmons in this game. They were down a lot of guys on defense. Danico Autry, Trev, had 11 pressures.
He's been good this season.
11 pressures. Danico Autry was awesome in this game.
A lot of pressures.
32-year-old Danico Autry.
You love to see it. Hey, before we move on to the next game, got to ask the good people, what if you could have invested in Tom Brady stock as a rookie? If you would have done that, hypothetically, of course, your investment would have been worth over 4,000% today. Now, it's no longer a question of what if, but now it's just a who's next because Mojo, the all-new sports stock market that lets you invest in your favorite athletes, now lets you cash in on your passion. Sign up right now in the Apple Store to get your first free stock for free, worth up to potentially tens of thousands of dollars if you hit it big. Over 300 players are listed on Mojo right now, so you can invest in rookies like Kenneth Walker, rising stars. You could go with Saquon Barkley, who had 35 carries today, who we need to get to at some point because that's absolutely absurd. You can talk about breakout stars like Patrick Mahomes. You think the ceiling is even higher. Go long to make your money when an underrated diamond in the rough player breaks out, or you can short sell an overrated rival and make some money as they flop too. You can make money that way, just like real stocks. Prices move with every play, every game, every headline, so you can buy and sell instantly anytime all year long, so that action never stops. Mojo is live in New Jersey now, so download Mojo in the App Store today. Start turning your playmakers into moneymakers. Must be 21 years or older and located in New Jersey to make trades. If you got a gambling problem, help is available at 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit mojo.com for more info. Also, our friends over at No House Advantage are changing the game by offering you the most dynamic fantasy platform available today. You can play in pick'em contests versus other people out there for a shot at winning $250,000 in cash. Download the app, choose a contest, select your player props, earn points for your correct picks, and climb the leaderboard for your shot to win big money every single day. You can also test your house versus test your skills versus the house. That's how that works. And 20 times your entry if you hit all of your picks right. Bet on up to 5 player prop over-unders or individual player matchups across every major sporting league, which include the NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, and even NASCAR. Sign up with the promo code STOCK, STOCK, at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app on the App Store to get your first deposit match up to $25. Make sure you check out No House Advantage today and experience daily fantasy sports redefined, because it's not just about how you play, but also where you play. And you guys definitely won't want to miss out on what No House Advantage is doing. Connor, where are we going next? What's the next game here?
Chiefs, Jaguars, man. And I will let you start because I've been hogging a lot of the starts so far.
Okay. Take a deep breath after the ads.
Yeah. Why don't you catch your breath here? You just did all the ad reads. I know my timing was absolute crap. Hey, no, Trevor, you just talked for 20 minutes straight. Here, you could talk again now that we're on Chiefs Jaguars.
It's fine. I'm built different. You're built for different, this, baby. The listeners aren't. They want me to shut the hell up, but it's too bad. We're giving our what matters most. Chiefs 27, Jacksonville Jaguars 17.
Never felt that close.
It really didn't. And I think what matters most with this game is I've got things I liked with the Jags. Like, there were a handful of Trevor Lawrence throws. There were a handful of Trevor Lawrence drives where I was like, okay, man, this is great. This is continuing the building block of what we said last week, where the Jags aren't there yet, but they are making improvements. It's what you want to see. Again, that's what I think this game was. One team is in a winning window, and they're really talented at a lot of spots. The other team is young. They're not there yet. They're still trying to figure it out. That's the game that we watched. That's why the result was what it was. But the thing that mattered most is I love that Kansas City is already getting Kadarius Toney involved in the game, whether it's out of the backfield, whether it's as a receiver, whatever they're doing with him, man, they're getting this unique, talented individual involved. I didn't see what Juju Smith-Schuster's injury was at the end of the game, but I know he went out with a scary crown of the helmet hit, and they had to help him off the field.
Concussion protocol right away.
Yeah, I know that. I just wasn't sure if it was too much more than that. Like if it was a neck injury or something. I'm not sure. Maybe you found that, or maybe you could look it up. But especially if Juju Smith-Schuster is going to miss time, getting a dynamic playmaker who you could dump the ball off to over the middle, who can get you yards after the catch. I mean, that can be Kadarius Toney's bread and butter. So even with Juju Smith-Schuster in the game, it was good to see Toney get some action, but especially if he's going to miss some time, they need somebody to fill that yards after catch dynamic role, especially as an over the middle player. And I think that Kadarius Toney can definitely be that. So in a what matters most, yes, Lawrence's performance, I think that he was good again. He's taking steps towards being a really good quarterback, but not a ton to hang your hat on for the Jags. They were just playing a team that was better than them. For the Chiefs, something that can matter in the long run is how they use Kadarius Toney already, which was very creative, and I'd love to see it.
I'll roll with the Chiefs here because we asked maybe a week or two ago, we were talking about Jalen Carter. We were like, how many great interior D-line in the league really are there? And we talked about Quinnen Williams, Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, although admittedly I needed to really focus more in on what Chris Jones has been doing this year. So I did that. I mean, he's just phenomenal. And he's a defensive player of the year level player right now for a Kansas City defense that has to have that from him. Kansas City has to be thinking Super Bowl this year. Obviously, their offense is really good. Mahomes has somehow quietly been great. Chris Jones, 2 sacks today. One was flying off the edge. Another was from the interior. It looked like he was lined up as a 3 tech. Just the way they can move him around the line, Trevor, and how good he is as a pass rusher is remarkable. And I think people know that, but I think looking at it this year, when you really dive into what Chris Jones has done this year, he's been as good as he ever has. There's not been a drop off or an average Chris Jones year. When you dive into what he's doing right now, he's tremendous. So the Chiefs are going to need that version of Chris Jones to win the Super Bowl. And he looked like that guy today and has looked like that guy for most of the season.
Yeah. When it was at the beginning of last season, wasn't it? When Spags, their defensive coordinator, it was reported that they were going to play Chris Jones full time as an edge rusher
off the edge.
And the pass rush grades and the pass rush win percentage were great for that. But he was starting to get really exposed when teams would leave him as the unblocked man and read option plays. Yep. So all of a sudden, you're forcing Chris Jones to be an athlete to either cover a quarterback in space if they're going to keep it, or just crash down onto a running back, or even handle the running back in space, whatever it was. And that was something that he really struggled with. And that was where a lot of the criticism came with run defense when he was playing as a full-time edge guy. He's not playing as a full-time edge player anymore. But Spags now is inserting him in those situations where he can play as an edge rusher. And I need to look up the numbers again, but when I looked them up a couple of weeks ago, he has one of the highest pass rush win percentages in the NFL when you just focus on him as an edge player, as a defensive end, as a 5-tech guy. So clearly that size, strength, speed matchup is giving offensive tackles fits. And they are using him appropriately as an edge rusher this year, as opposed to trying to force a square peg into a round hole like it felt like they were a couple of years ago. So good on Spags for noticing that and putting him in some better situations. All right, what game is next?
All right, let's keep it moving. We did Jags Chiefs. I know we're going to get to the Giants, like you said. We are. This is time for the Giants. The Giants game where, like you said, Saquon Barkley had 35 carries in this game.
They're trying to kill him.
They are trying to kill him.
They're trying to kill him. What are they doing?
If they don't pay Saquon Barkley, boy, does this look like we ran him into the ground. And ultimately, I think they will find a way to keep a player with his kind of talent around. I don't think that actually has anything to do with this. The Giants, to me, the takeaway for me is I think Darius Slayton is so underrated, man. Every time people go, and I'm guilty of it too, that the Giants have nothing at wide receiver, my argument is keep playing Darius Slayton. When he gets his chances, and this goes back to his rookie year, the guy can produce, and he's better than all these other guys that they keep trotting out there anyway. So I know Slayton had the big touchdown catch on a good throw that Daniel Jones was blitzed on. He was under very, very heavy pressure and got the ball out to Slayton. So that's my Giants takeaway. But I think more importantly from this game, as Brian Daboll, wildly underrated in the Coach of the Year candidacy. I know he's plus 800 on some of the odds boards. I don't know what more you want Brian Daboll to do with this roster, sitting at 7-2 with a 4-1 home record.
Yeah.
Trevor, the Texans, I know Davis Mills threw for over 300 yards. When you really watch this offense, it's just they just don't have answers at a lot of key places still. Dameon Pierce is a nice player. Absolutely a nice player. But Kenyon Green, I thought, had a pretty tough day. He struggled in pass pro and with penalties, got called for a really critical hold. Mills made some really bad decisions in this game. He took a couple sacks. He just doesn't move overly well. I don't know what to say about the Texans. I hate saying this. They feel really far away. I watched this game against the Giants who I don't look at the Giants getting off the bus for the game and say, wow, they're a way further along football team on paper than Houston. I don't look at it that way. They're just better coached, and they do get more from the quarterback, despite the numbers maybe not looking that way. The Texans, man, they need a big offseason. When I watch this game, I just look at it and go, they have so many problems right now. And it does make me wonder, going back to the rumors of Tunzel, Tunsil will be really good for a rookie quarterback in there, but there's also the flip side. By the time you're good again, will Tunsil contract be up and will he be getting older? So they have a lot of critical decisions to make. And watching this game to me was kind of the pinnacle of that. They just don't seem even close right now.
Yeah, and look, at least, when you say that, I don't totally disagree with you, but that's why they're currently picking at the very top of the draft order, right? Because they're a team that's far away from competing, as you're seeing now. And when you look at the next 2 years for the Texans, they've got this upcoming year in 2023, 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, 2 third-round picks, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, 3 seventh-round picks, and then
so trade one of those.
And then in 2024, they've got 2 first-round picks again, a second-round pick, a third-round pick, 2 fourth-round picks, a fifth, and 2 sevenths, 3 sevenths, one of the two. There's
Stockpile.
there's a lot of text right there of which pick this is that they traded. So I'm not sure. They might have 2 second-round, 7th-round picks in 2024. They might only have 1. Tune into NFL Stock Exchange later to find out.
Get more
when we confirm this. But look, yeah, they are far away, but thankfully they have a lot of draft picks for it. So it's going to be exciting times here on this podcast if you are a Texans fan. So stick around, grab a comfy chair.
They got a hit on him. I mean, I'm sorry. Kenyon Green he looked awful today. He looked really and that's not a pick that I thought. I didn't dislike Kenyon Green as a player. I didn't value him as a guy you're taking in the top 15. This is what I'm saying. Like, in 2 years, they could look a lot different. They have all those picks, but I'm not ultra confident right now that the plan is necessarily in the right hands.
Well, it's hard.
And maybe that's not fair.
It's hard to say that when we don't think we don't think the coach that they currently have is going to stick around, when we don't exactly trust what's going on in the front office. I mean, like Caserio, okay, we don't know a ton about him. He had to navigate the whole Deshaun Watson stuff. He did a good job of getting a lot of picks back for it, but we haven't really seen him hit on a ton of those guys. I like his draft this past draft, but
you feel awful for Mechie. Of course, you got to give him like,
yeah.
Like Mechie got leukemia and is going through treatment.
No,
like,
I like the last draft that they had. I really liked it.
So I don't know if I did, but
I like Stingley a lot. Petrie's, I think, going to be better. He's missing way too many tackles right now.
An alarming rate.
I don't know if he just doesn't want to tackle or what. I just don't really understand it. I mean, that is off-season bulletin board number 1 for him. Is he's got to figure out a way to stop missing tackles.
Look at his day.
I mean,
he missed 2 more today.
Well, he's got by far the most missed tackles on the season of any player in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it every single week. So that's something that needs to get better at. Obviously, they picked Jamie Pearson. He's been fantastic. You hope Kenyon Green works out. The John Mechie, that sucks, man. I hope that John Mechie can come back.
Same, of course.
Healthier and better than ever. But we will see with that. Anyways, my thing that mattered most is the Giants, for as much as I praise them for knowing their identity and knowing exactly who they are, knowing their identity and exactly who they are means that they ran the ball 47 times and only passed the ball 17 times today. That is a wild run pass split, man.
And they controlled the whole game.
Crazy. But they did. I think the Giants' margin for error is very slim. I think the Giants are going to make the playoffs because they have a good enough record to make the playoffs. So I think they're going to sneak in as a wild card team, and I think they're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs because they're going to go up against a team that is going to challenge them a little bit more. I don't think they're going to get blown. I'm not saying they're going to get blown out. I don't know what the matchup is going to be, but when I watch this Giants team, the margin for error to me is so small for this Giants team. And it should be, right? I don't mean it to come off as this big Giants hater or anything like that. The Giants shouldn't be here, right? Like the Giants shouldn't be this good. We shouldn't be talking about the Giants as a playoff team, but we are. And that is a testament to how well Brian Daboll has done as a head coach and how, again, these guys are playing to their strength every single week. But the strength of the New York Giants is a brand of football whose margin for error is very low. If you lose the turnover battle just a little bit and you're going up against a team that really knows how to throw the ball, I think Giants could get in trouble against one of those better teams if they meet them in the playoffs. That's all. So anyways, we can go on to the next one.
All right, we'll pick up the pace a little bit for some of these. Steelers Saints. I don't know if you had strong thoughts on the Steelers winning 20-10 with the return of TJ Watt.
I mean, Jameis is healthy, right? Right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
What are we doing?
That's what the team says.
What are we doing?
I don't know.
Why are we,
I really don't know.
What are you doing? How are you wasting time right now? Andy Dalton is 35 years old and he's on a 1-year contract. What are you doing? Play Jameis Winston. Please, come on. I almost don't even care if you think that Andy Dalton barely gives you a better chance to win right now. It's not like you're going to re-sign Andy Dalton to this deal that matters at all whatsoever for a winning window that you have. So if you would have explained to me kind of what they've been doing with Andy Dalton up to this point, I'd been like, okay, I get it. Like he hasn't been the worst quarterback in the NFL recently. So like, cool. We're done with that. If Jameis is healthy, play Jameis. That you have to do that at this point. So that's my one thing that matters most. If Jameis is healthy, stop with the charade with playing Dalton. It's not going to get you anywhere.
You're not wrong. I'm kind of running out of words for the Saints. I mean, today was very uninspiring, I would say, watching that team. Very uninspiring. A lot of it is Andy Dalton. A lot of it's just that thing. Not much has gone right for them.
Michael Thomas either, which is huge. I get it.
But you knew that going in.
No,
the guy's played no football for how many years?
Michael Thomas. Yeah, unfortunately, he's barely played football for like 2 years now.
Yeah, they're stuck with that contract. I will take a positive outlook for the Steelers. I thought today there was a little bit more of an effort to get George Pickens involved. It felt like he got 2 rushing touches, obviously the score. He only had 4 targets, but it just felt like they knew to try to just get the ball in George Pickens' hands with those rushing touches. So I liked that. Kenny Pickett's still swimming a little bit, but I thought, you know what surprises me of Pickett? He's not seeing things well. He was sacked 6 times today. It feels like he's trying to run to make some plays, and I get it. It just feels like everything's very fast for him right now. But credit to the Steelers defense for putting them in a position where Pickett didn't have to be a hero today. Alex Highsmith had a really, really good game. Their whole front, I thought, had a really, really good game. And against the Saints offense right now, that's all you need to do.
Can we point out, as we are a draft podcast, that the Philadelphia Eagles currently have the number 4 overall pick in the NFL draft because of the New Orleans Saints?
Oh my God.
I'm telling you, Will Anderson,
you are a Philadelphia Eagle.
We are not effing around anymore, Connor.
No, code red. I said it like kind of tongue in cheek, joking last week, but kind of not. Almost fearful of it.
They're going to get Will Anderson.
I want it to happen. I really want it to happen. It's what they need. When you watch that team, you're like, this is a friggin'...
Or they're going to get Jalen Carter. Or they're going to put Jalen Carter next to Jordan Davis again.
Jalen Carter mentored by Fletcher Cox.
It's not fair. Once these alien human beings that go to college and then you realize that they're alien human beings and you go, oh, okay, well, we can't put all those guys in the same team in the pros because that would be unfair, right? We got to kind of divvy up the talent a little bit. They're not supposed to be able to do this. They're not supposed to be able to do this. It's why the draft was invented. Eagles, man. Howie Roseman, executive of the year.
Okay, game the system. He gamed the system.
What's the next game? Game of Thrones, if you
must be stopped. Colts Raiders.
He's the Cersei Lannister of the NFL.
Sipping his wine, smiling, not even smiling.
Yeah.
Colts Raiders. Oh boy, Jeff Saturday, you are the most winning coach in NFL history at 1-0. Jeff Saturday's never lost a game. He's never lost an NFL game. I've always said this was a brilliant hire. So, quick on the Colts, Jonathan. This is what, if you have Jonathan Taylor in fantasy and you didn't sell low, you didn't trade him, good for you, because he's healthy, he's going to get the ball a ton. I think he was on the field for a ton of most of their passing snaps today as well. So real quick on the Colts, great. The Raiders, I do it every week. I will do it again. Josh McDaniels is not an NFL head coach.
No.
He's an embarrassment. Nope. This team should not be this bad. Derek Carr looked totally wiped and defeated on the podium. I actually felt bad for Derek Carr on the podium today.
Yeah.
Honestly, I try not to be the whole like one and done guy. I would blow everything up there. Everything.
Yeah, I mean that's my one thing that matters most is that I think this has to be the kiss of death for McDaniel.
Yeah, they got it wrong. Just say it, you got it wrong, Mark Davis.
Yeah, you got it wrong. You definitely got it. And again, I am totally with you, Connor. I hate doing that. I hate giving a coach 1 year because
I don't very often believe
you're
it.
not even playing with your players. I hate it. But if you can't beat a guy who has never even coached before against an offensive coordinator who's 30 years old and who has never called plays before, come on, my guy. I've gone back and forth on this podcast wondering over the last couple of weeks, okay, is it Josh McDaniels or is it Derek Carr? Which one is it? Like, who are you picking at the end of the year? I think both of them should be gone. I think the Las Vegas Raiders should basically clean sweep whatever they can of this team and this roster. I think that the coaching staff should be gone. I think Derek Carr should be gone. I think the identity, obviously you're not getting rid of Devontae Adams. I think most of the identity of what this team currently is should not be here next year. That's where we're at. This loss is a stain that OxyClean can't even get out, man. Like this is going to be bad. It's going to be so hard because you look at next season, and if you begin to struggle at all whatsoever next season, like let's say they finish the year decent even, and they get to the point where they don't want to get rid of anybody. Derek Carr stays for this next year on his contract. Josh McDaniel stays because he was able to at least salvage his reputation a little bit. The second you start losing next year, even if it's in September, you're going to lose the fans. Fans are out.
Oh yeah.
Fans are done. And that's the dangerous point that we're at with the Las Vegas Raiders is that there's not real. I don't really think a lot of people believe in either party at this point. Not a lot of people who believe in Derek Carr still, even for the people who are like, hey, he doesn't have the best supporting cast around him, right? Like guys like Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller, they've been hurt this year. The offensive line isn't as good as it needs to be. Like whatever. Like even those people who have been defenders of Derek Carr, I don't really hear those voices. I don't really read those voices anymore. So I think both of them need to be gone. That's what I think. What matters most is that the Raiders better look a whole lot different next year. Or my God, is it going to be apathetic talking about the Raiders if it's not? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually frustrating logging on here and talking about them week after week because it's just they should have been so much better than this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I mean, to get your pants pulled down by the Colts, like to just get pantsed by what the Colts have gone through in the last week.
Terrible.
Not great. At home.
Terrible. At least they have the number 2 overall draft pick.
That is good. That is a good thing. That is a really good thing. Okay.
Packers, Cowboys?
Packers, Cowboys.
Or do you want to talk Cardinals, Rams first?
Cardinals, Rams. Let's go out on a high note with Packers, Cowboys.
Okay. All right. Cardinals, Rams. Cardinals come away with the victory 27-17. Cardinals 4-6 on the season. Rams 3-6. Neither starting quarterback started in this one. Kyler Murray did not play. Matthew Stafford did not play. At one point, Colt McCoy, who is the backup to Kyler Murray, even got hurt. So we saw Trace McSorley for a little bit in this one. Cooper Kupp leaves the game with an injury for the Rams. McVay did not sound very hopeful at the end of the game. Sounds like Cooper Kupp could be out for a while.
Yeah.
I think I saw a stat that the Cardinals have an 11-3 road record over since 2021, which is the best in the NFL, which I kind of smirked at.
That is shocking.
It's just wild. They just can't win at home. This team sucks at home.
Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. I don't really get it. Anyways, Connor, what was your thing that mattered most here from this monumental Arizona Cardinals victory?
The Panthers saved the Rams from themselves.
Oh my God. McVay would have retired this offseason.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, McVay would have retired this offseason if they would have done this. They would have done that Brian Burns trade.
I'm serious. That's what matters most. The Rams season is over, and now it's over. Yeah. You lost to Colt McCoy, and I know you didn't have Stafford. If you traded for Brian Burns 2 1s and a 2, and then played, and let's be very clear here, as Trevor said on a previous show, Brian Burns is not changing the outcomes of these games.
No.
Okay?
No. So, damn good player.
Damn good player.
Not changing the outcome of these games.
What matters most is that, the Panthers saved the Rams from themselves this season. Simple as that.
Retweet. I agree. I'm sorry if people are listening to this and they're
fans
of the Cardinals and they want more about it, but Yeah, look, I like that they got Rondale Moore involved a lot. Rondale Moore, 13 targets, 9 catches, 94 yards. Love that. Would love to see Rondale Moore continue to get a lot of work in the passing game because I think that he's got untapped potential, even though it's taking a little bit while to get him out of his shell and show that a little bit here in the NFL. But there's just not a lot in this game that you can really judge. It's two backup quarterbacks. They're going to look completely different once the real quarterbacks get in there. So the result is what it is. It basically ended the Los Angeles Rams season. And the thing that definitely mattered most is that the Panthers saved the Rams' entire regime. Because if they would have accepted that trade just 2 short weeks ago, man, how
Crazy.
effing wild is that? If
That's
2 weeks
wild.
ago they would have accepted a trade, we'd literally be on this show right now talking about Les Snead retiring, Sean McVay retiring, Matthew Stafford retiring. Like, we'd be talking about all of that if they would have accepted the deal that the Rams submitted. I can't do it. All right, let's move on to Packers Cowboys.
All right, last game of today's show. A great game. Another great game. A lot of really good games today. I can't believe how this game ended, honestly.
Me neither.
Packers score 14 fourth quarter points. Christian Watson catches 3 touchdowns in this game. Obviously a massive breakout performance. The guy that they need, Green Bay. They need Aaron Rodgers to trust Christian Watson going forward. Aaron Jones was phenomenal. CeeDee Lamb, if Justin Jefferson didn't do what he did today, CeeDee Lamb would have been the talk of town. He was always open. 11 catches, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. I thought Dak was really good despite the interceptions. I'll be honest, Trev. I think, and I know it's dumb to nitpick things, that pass interference not being called on CeeDee Lamb in the overtime might have changed the entire outcome of this game. But
it did. Yeah, I agree 100%.
But it's in the books. Green Bay had to have this one. They are now 4-6. They have life. They're 3-2 at Lambeau. Nobody's surprised by that. Actually, people are probably surprised it's not 4-1 or 5-0. I don't think this isn't a big deal for the Cowboys to me. I think that's what matters most. I didn't walk away. Yeah, it stinks you lost by giving up 17 consecutive points. I get that. There wasn't something in this game that I looked at with Dallas and said, man, that's a glaring issue. Like, I didn't walk away with this game. Yeah, sure, they had some lapses in the secondary. Okay, I get that. But even with the interceptions, once again, I thought Dak was fine. Tony Pollard did what Tony Pollard does when Zeke is hurt, had great runs. CeeDee Lamb is a true number one. Maybe it for me is the Cowboys really need another receiver. And Jalen Tolbert obviously is not ready to play. That offsides penalty. He can't even line up. So that's probably it for me. Okay, so what matters most? Like, it's amazing how I got to it after saying all this. The Cowboys need to sign Odell Beckham.
Sure.
They need to sign Odell Beckham.
Sure.
And the Cowboys are fine right now. But if they want this to be potentially the year, they do need a wide receiver. And the only thing out there is the only guy out there that you could just go get off the street who's going to be ready to go as soon as Odell Beckham. That's what this game taught me. For Green Bay, huge win. They had to have this one or things would have got really, really rocky there. And you can kind of see those emotions boiling over when Rodgers was screaming at LaFleur for that pass call towards the end of the game. But there's just no other way around it. Green Bay keeps their season alive, and Christian Watson needs to do this level of play going forward the rest of the year because they just don't have a lot at wide receiver with that kind of big play threat.
My thing that matters most, look what happens when you give Aaron Rodgers one competent wide receiver. One.
And he's had his problems all year.
This man's won back-to-back MVP awards, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, he is still an unbelievable quarterback. You give him one reliable receiver, and he made magic happen today. And it was beautiful to see. You know, Christian Watson, I think he seems to still have a little bit of issues tracking the ball over the shoulder. Even that first touchdown was a little bit shaky. What I loved that they were doing, especially on that last touchdown, get Christian Watson involved in a lot of deep crossers. That's where I think you can have a lot of success with him, where you're not forcing him. Because look, some guys just over the shoulder catches, it's not comfortable for them. They're not comfortable tracking it down through the air. They're not comfortable knowing exactly where the ball is going to come in. And I think that we've seen a couple of instances, even another deep pass during that game where Christian Watson kind of like lost it in the lights or whatever. And you remember that play where he like slowed up on a go route, and it then ended up just going off of his hand because he wasn't where he needed to be. And it's just sometimes that version of tracking deep down the field, guys aren't comfortable with. And he's not comfortable with it right now. I'm not saying that he can't get to that level, but keep attacking deep down the field, but let Christian Watson go a little bit horizontal as well, where you got him on these deep crossers to where him catching the football is him turning and catching it like a regular catch. You're just still deep down the field, so you don't have to do the over the shoulder thing. So I think that that is something that they found this week that they could really build upon moving forward, is a lot of crossers and deep crossers with Christian Watson. That's how you get his speed involved in the game. That's how you can stretch the field. Rodgers, for as much as I do not think he is blameless at all whatsoever when it comes to Green Bay struggles this season, he is still Aaron Rodgers. He is still unbelievable. That arm is still fantastic. And he's a back-to-back MVP for a reason. So if you support him just a little bit in the passing game, he can work wonders for you. He still only had 14 completions this game. So he's a long way off from the Aaron Rodgers of old, throwing out his arm. But they had Aaron Jones playing really well this week.
That's the key.
On the flip side, that's definitely my thing that matters most. And the reason why I don't really have a thing that matters most for the Cowboys is this doesn't change my opinion of the Cowboys at all. Like,
that's how I felt.
I kind of felt like they should have won this game anyways, but even with them losing it, I didn't think they were going to overtake the Eagles for the 1 seed anyways. I always felt like they were going to be a wild card team. And even with the loss, they're still right now 2 games up on who would be the 7th seed in the San Francisco 49ers. So to me, Cowboys are making the playoffs. I never thought they were going to be a team to host a playoff game. And so this doesn't really move the needle for me. Dak was good at times. Dak was bad at times. Tony Pollard's better than Ezekiel Elliott. We already knew that. They have CeeDee Lamb. They don't really have anybody else. Defense is kind of up and down, but they've got good playmakers as well. A lot of guys who can collapse the pocket. A lot of guys who can get pressures. Like, all of that still exists. Kelvin Joseph definitely struggled today, but that's fine. My opinion of the Cowboys didn't really change today. It really didn't. So my one thing that matters most is much more towards the Packers side than anything else.
If you want the glass half full, Cowboys fans, maybe it's that it's started to identify itself how important getting Odell is, I think, where you'd rather know that now than in January. Like, you'd rather figure that out now and then be like, oh, how could we see this coming? We thought Gallup would do more, or we thought this or that. So, yeah, I'm with you. It can't be understated how important the Green Bay win was. Aaron Jones needs to just, one last thing too. I thought Green Bay ran the ball the way they needed to run the ball in this game, schematically. And obviously just really accepting that Aaron Jones is far and away your best running back, and maybe your far and away most reliable offensive player. It goes a long way. It's that simple sometimes.
There we go, folks.
That's a wrap.
That is another What Matters Most from the NFL Week 10, brother. We're in double digits now.
That's crazy. I didn't even realize that we're really chugging along. It is almost Thanksgiving.
It is almost Thanksgiving. Yeah, Thanksgiving's going to be here before we know it. And we're going to be talking about playoff picture. We're going to be talking about draft. Can't wait to do that. I know we're going to do that later in the week as well on either the Wednesday or the Thursday episode. Shoot, maybe both. We're going to have something involving the updated draft order, maybe a little bit of updated rankings, that kinds of stuff. We are getting right there for draft season, and we are going to be one of the first podcasts that really dive into it. We can promise you.
Because we never stop.
That's true. It's true. Always a little hint of it. Always, it's always there. It's always there. And then boom, smack you in the face. All that great content that you guys are missing from draft season is going to be here before you know it. Maybe even this week. As always, we've been doing this. We've been loving listening to you guys' voicemails. Speakpipe.com/NFLSE. It's a really cool way for you guys to get involved in the show. It's an easy way for us to get you guys involved in the show as well. Leave us a voicemail. Whatever team that you are a fan of, whether you want to get some takes off because your team won, whether you want to say something therapeutic and get something off your chest because your team lost, if something's NFL draft related, if there's a player that you're wondering, whatever, man, ask us whatever you want to ask us. NFL related, or I guess non-NFL related, if we want to just open it up and we have a fun one in there every now and then, we could definitely do that. But speakpipe.com/NFLSE. It's a super easy way where if you go to that website, all you have to do from your phone, from your computer, you can just record your voice. So you don't have to type out a big thing. You can just record your own voice, say it in the inflection that you want to, get your emotions out, and pose whatever question or topic you want to. We're gonna make sure that we get to those at least once a week, maybe even twice a week if we have the time. Maybe we'll be able to do that later.
You could just call and scream if you want. I don't know if we'll play it, but you can absolutely call and scream, and somebody will listen to it.
Yeah. That's true. Actually, Stone will listen to
Stone will absolutely listen to you screaming if it's therapeutic for you. And honestly, I might just randomly play it on the show if it's therapeutic for us. We'll see. Because I get it.
Hey, people say sometimes you need a good cry, sometimes you need a good scream. Sometimes
Raiders fans, you can scream. Houston Texans fans, you can scream.
Scream in a speak pipe if you want.
Yes, that's why we built this for you. If you have an actual question, that works too.
Connor, anything else before we get out of here?
Man, no. I mean, God, summed up the day. I'm not just saying this. I thought it was an awesome day for the NFL slate. It felt like every single timing had at least one thriller. A big day for a lot of the youngsters in the NFL, which is always, a bonus for this show and this brand specifically. So I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to using, as people are listening to this right now, your today to dive into our Stock Watch show, because it looked like a lot of prospects had really, really big Saturdays this week as well.
We're clearing up the picture, man. We're clearing up the picture, whether it's
Eagles get Will Anderson. Yeah.
Jeez. The engagement on the tweets, though, are going to be mint if that happens. If they're even in the realm of Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. I'm just gonna be fired.
It's looking very likely.
It's looking very likely. It is. No, there's no doubt about it. The picture's getting clearer. Like I said, whether it's the playoffs, whether it's the draft, whatever it is, we're here to figure it out with all you guys. We're here to talk about all of that beautiful speculation, what could be, everything when it comes to not just this season, but the seasons beyond. Our next podcast is on Wednesday. As of right now, we're thinking that it's still going to be a stock watch update kind of a show. We're going to give you some players that we've been watching that are stock up, stock down when it comes to the big board. But man, as we're getting close to Thanksgiving, we're getting close to December, Connor. I really want to make sure that we're mixing in updating the people on the draft order every single week, because that's such a fun part of this part of the year, is that the draft order changes every week, and you and I can go, okay, if it went like this, like if these teams were at the top, how would things change for the teams, in the back half of the top 10, back half of the top 20, whatever it was. So I want to make sure that we get to that plenty this time of year, because that's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, Thursday show, a little bit of a wild card show, leaving it up to the imagination, always seeing what we really want to talk about once we get to Thursdays. But next time you hear our voices, it'll be on Wednesday. Appreciate you guys listening and watching. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. Thank you guys so much for listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. We'll see you next time.